Welcome to my channel. This is Piera Luna. For today, I wanted to bring you an important part of tarot, and that is the code of ethics behind it. For me, it's very important as a tarot reader and in my personal life as well. But I also recommend it for anybody that wants to learn about tarot or is involved with tarot. The closer you are to a higher vibration, to a spiritual code of ethics, um, the better the road would be for you. And by that, I'm not saying something bad is going to happen to you if you don't follow this road. By that, I mean, if you want to find the truth, you must align yourself with the truth. And part of reading the cards, reading tarot cards, is finding that spiritual truth that is going to help you on your journey, on your personal life journey. So, best way for me to give you that, to portray that energy and imaging of and symbology of the code of ethics of tarot cards, nothing better than the knights, the 4 knights of the deck. This is the deck from the Golden Wheel by Mila Loshenko. I'll be doing another video after this one to showcase the entire deck. It's very lovely, full of symbology and colors and movement, as you can see from these 4 cards. So before I go into the meat of this video to give you what the code of ethics is for reading tarot, according to this White Witch at least, and to, I'm sure, many more others that share my opinion about tarot, we have here the 4 knights in the usual order that I like to present it to you, starting with the Knight of Wheels. This is a knight that shows us about persistence. He's very, very persistent because he moves so slow in the deck, and it takes him time to get to finish his mission. He takes the task that nobody else wants to take because they know it's going to take a long, long time. And he's very patient and he's very humble in the tasks that are on this area. And he's very stoical and persistent. The Knight of Swords is a very courageous knight. He goes into battle in a flash. You just ask him that there's some injustice going on, something that he needs to address quickly for there to be peace or harmony, and he's going to be there in the battle ASAP. The Knight of Wands is the passionate knight of the deck. He's the one for the most difficult quests because you need that kind of a passion that comes from the Knight of Wands with all his inspiration and his passion and his chivalry and his belief in his code of ethics that drives him to the most impossible quests that need to be taken. And the Knight of Cups, he's the knight that will go to battle with total and complete unconditional love. For those that he cares for and for those that become his mates in battle. So the knights also represent a time of humankind where this kind of chivalry was needed, when we were separating ourselves from good behavior to better behavior, to more harmony between us. It's also a time where there wasn't much of the written word. A lot of people didn't read or write, or they were so poor that there was no access to schools or schooling, even paper and or parchment and a pen or ink to write were difficult to find. So your word was your. There was no contracts. There were barely or rarely written contracts. So your word was a binding contract. So whatever came out of your mouth and you promised you were going to do something, it became a binding contract between you and the other person and of course the witnesses that were there. So that's the energy of the knights. They're the movers of the deck. They're the doers. They're the ones that have movement and action, and they're the ones that get the energy moving in whatever quest that they're requested for. So I wanted to give you an important piece of information from the tarot, from learning tarot, and that's, as I said, the code of ethics behind it. And The best way to explain it is by me reading just 2 pages that I have written down on my Book of Light, which is a book where I collect all magical things that I find on the way that resonate with my heart, things that I know I'll forget later on, but I wanted to treasure them and keep them for as long as I could. So this is from when I first started incurring in my White Witch journey, and I found it in the internet. This is the Wiccan Code of Chivalry. This comes from the book of The Magical Rites from the Crystal Well by Ed Fitch. This is a collection of articles that came in a magazine from the 60s and 70s, which was called Crystal Well. And it was, of course, very popular because the entire community, humanity at that time, had a paradigm shift, and they were looking at different religions or alternative religions, and they wanted something that was more based on the planet, all the hippie movement and all and the whole social revolution we had in the 60s and 70s. So of course it became very popular. Now that does not mean that this information only comes from the 60s or 70s. This information is very ancient, and of course it resurfaced back then in the 60s and 70s, because there were open minds for that kind of content, and it became very popular. So I wanted to read it to you. This basically contemplates and contains the code of chivalry whenever you want to go into the path of understanding the part of humanity or human life or energy or science that is not the structure science. This is it's been called the occult science, and occult not in a negative way, just that it's been hidden for a long time. But this is the spiritual part of science. Well, of course, scientists will disagree with me absolutely, and I understand why. That this is not a science; that's a pseudoscience. But back then, when this was all the studies of science and actually spirituality, they were actually intermingled between them, until there was a separation, and we stopped investigating into things that were not of the material world. Anything that we could not measure, or we couldn't see, or we couldn't contain in an experiment that we could replicate several times, and we could adjust all the factors and the elements. Everything that did not fit into that box for humanity, it was something unreal and did not exist. It was all bogus and your imagination. Of course, we don't all believe that. Thankfully, all that information has survived, and this is a part of that information that has survived, and which I'll, without further ado, like to read to you. So again, this is from The Magical Rites from the Crystal Well from Ed Fitch. He's got actually this book on Amazon. I'll put the link below. It's like almost 300 pages, and it's very basic, but it really resonated with me when I started on the journey of becoming a White Witch. So it goes like this. Wiccan Code of Chivalry. Chivalry is a high code of honor which is of most ancient pagan origin and must be lived by all who follow the old ways. It must be penned that thoughts and intent put forth on this middle earth will wax strong in other worlds beyond and return, bringing into creation on this world that which had been sent forth. Thus one should exercise discipline, for as ye do plant, so shall ye harvest. It is only by preparing our minds to be as gods that we can ultimately attain Godhead. This above all, to thine own self be true. A witch's word must have the validity of a sign and witness oath. Thus, give thy word sparingly, but adhere to it like iron. Refrain from speaking ill of others, for not all truths of the matter may be known. Pass not unverified words about another, for hearsay is in large part a thing of falsehoods. Be thou honest with others, and have them known that honesty is likewise expected of them. The fury of the moment plays fully with the truth. To keep one's head is a virtue. Contemplate always the consequences of thine acts upon others. Strive not to harm. Diverse covens may well have diverse news on love between members and with others. When a coven, clan, or grove is visited or joined, one should discern quietly their practices and abide thereby. Dignity, a gracious manner, and a good humor are much to be admired. As a witch thou hast power, and thy powers wax strongly as wisdom increases. Therefore exercise discretion in the use thereof. Courage and honor endure forever. Their echoes remain when the mountains have crumbled to dust. Pledge friendship and fealty to those who so warrant. Strengthen other of the brethren, and they shall strengthen thee. Thou shalt not reveal secrets of another witch or another coven. Others have labored long and hard for them and cherished them as treasures. Though there may be differences between the old ways, those are once born must see nothing and must hear nothing. Those who follow the mysteries should be above reproach in the eyes of the world. The laws of the land should be obeyed whenever possible and within reason, for in the main they have been chosen with wisdom. Have pride in thyself and seek perfection in body and in mind, for the lady has said, how can thou honor another unless they give honor to thyself first? Those who seek the mysteries should consider themselves as select as the gods, for it is they who lead the race of humans to the highest of thrones and beyond the very stars. I'll put the whole text on the description so that you have it there in case you want to copy it, and if in case you have your own Book of Light and you want to put it there. And I recommend to do it handwritten, because handwritten words have more power than just typed words on a computer. But of course, if you just want to copy and paste it, that's perfectly fine. Now, these are 10 of the codes of the Code of Chivalry for Wiccans. They started their movement, or calling themselves Wiccans, or the whole notion of Wiccan started like around in the 1950s by a man named Gardner Cunningham, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, each perspective or each paradigm about magic is different, as there are differences between Catholics and Christians and Protestants and evangelicals, and the list is endless. There's of course different schools, if you might say, or paradigms, and depending on the label that a person adheres to, there's particular differences they might have. In my case, I'm an eclectic white witch. I like a lot of things about Wiccan, although I still have trouble with all the how not dogmatic, but structure they are. In regards to everything has to have like a specific way of there being a ritual, and it can only be this way because it was set up this way. And I respect that for those that like that. In my case, I like to follow my heart. I, of course, love symbolism because symbolism is a way for us to connect with energy. But this is basically something that most people, that even tarot readers, can it resonates with them on regards to how important it is to keep your word, to align with the truth, to align with that frequency of the truth. So when you're reading cards, you're not in a vibration where you might align with non-truths, or you might align with other negative things as lies or deceit. So the more you can keep yourself in the line of being honest, and of course, being honest also means having a heart, because it's a combination, basically like a combination here of the knights. You must have passion. Your word is ironclad because the swords are about words. But you must also have compassion. You must also have heart and be compassionate with the truths that you say. And this is also very important when learning to read tarot. If you really get good at it and you get good at understanding what's going on with what the person is asking you about, you must develop and really work on delivering the message in the right way, in a loving way, in a compassionate way, in a way that is going to help the person that is asking you a question, and in the best way that you hopefully feel enlightened by something higher than you, whatever you believe in, to guide you, to give you good recommendations for the person that is asking for a different perspective on their life troubles or their philosophical life questions. And of course, the process of learning tarot is a very it's a road, maybe not that quick for most people, but if you really have the passion to learn tarot cards, then you will start developing the persistence and the patience to keep developing your skills, starting from learning the meanings of each of the cards, which I'll help you with by going through different decks and giving you the keywords of all the cards, so you can start getting related to the symbolism, and then it becomes a breeze to understand the meanings. So that would be all for today. The Wiccan Code of Chivalry, which comes in the Magical Rites from the Crystal Well by Ed Fitch. And there's so much you can actually go deep into what it says. It has a lot of depthness on regards to the wisdom and the idea as an adept of occultism, of spiritual occultism, is that, in which is what tarot cards or getting to read tarot cards is about, is that you align yourself with the truth and you align yourself with a higher power. I recommend that anybody who gets a tarot deck the first time they get it, either be it well, especially the first one that you get when you start reading tarot, is that you, before you start playing with it, is that from your heart you send it loving vibrations. You can visualize it by using colors, or you could use symbols. It could be heart-shaped hearts. It can be with wings, with angel wings, or rays of light, anything, or any kind of image of a loving light that you visualize your throwing to the deck, and that you ask that it gives you the truth to help those in their path, and that it's always aligning to the higher truth, and that whatever you're telling the person is not out of ego, is not out of vain, that you're not projecting your unhealed wounds on the deck, which is another important thing about learning to read tarot, is that you also in the process do inner work, and you get to know your inner self pretty well, so that you're not controlled, you're not a slave of any kind of wounds that you might have collected on the way from childhood or from any day of the week. And that when you get to do tarot, that you have like a clean slate and a clean heart. And it helps a lot of people to do meditations, do prayers, mandalas, or even paint mandalas, so that you get into that special mind frame where you're relaxed, where you're not concerned about mundane things, but you're connecting to a higher truth. So that would be the wisdom for today. Hopefully it resonated, and thank you for watching.